Alright everybody, welcome back to another video from Win at WGU, and today we are going to be talking about how to pass the second OA in D104. I'll be honest with you, this class almost broke me. This is one of the most challenging classes you will have in your accounting degree, but don't worry, once you pass this one, it will be smooth sailing from here. Honestly, it is extremely tough, so do not ever beat yourself up on it if you fail 2-3 times. Today I'm going to be walking you through the mindset, the mechanics, and the process of how to get through this class. This isn't going to be about guessing questions or multiple choice tips and tricks. This is going to be about training your brain to think like an accountant. Okay, so you're going to have to remember there's one mindset that always wins in any school-based setting. Never, ever memorize answers. That doesn't help you. It won't help you if you memorize the practice exam questions if you take the OA, because they're going to be worded differently. Instead, I encourage you to memorize the logic. Before you solve anything, I want you to ask these questions to yourself. What is the economic reality? Which accounts moved? What happened with the debits and credits? Which direction? Was it debited? Was it credited? Did it just affect income or did it affect equity? If you start thinking within that framework, these tests start to feel a lot less random. When I'm going into these tests, I always have a mantra to hype myself up. I don't panic, I just balance it out. For what the OA actually tests, you're gonna want to focus on the following: property, plant, and equipment, as well as disposition. It's gonna hit on depreciation. You're gonna have your straight line, double declining balance, and SYD. You're gonna have to focus on depletion of natural resources. Additionally, you're gonna have to know about impairment, coverability, and fair value. A little bit on bonds, how they're issued, how the interest is calculated, basic discount and premium logic. You want to know equity like the back of your hand, what is treasury stock, why it's bought back, dividends, and how stock options are treated. Additionally, you want to know about what dilutes securities, what is diluting securities even mean, and also earning per share, also known as EPS. You're gonna fall in love with abbreviations in this class. Following with that, you're gonna wanna know your ratios. My biggest tip before moving forward is, if you're gonna sit down for that test, just do a massive brain dump on your whiteboard. Try and write out every single ratio you can remember. Write out the acid ratio, do everything you can, because you're gonna need it or you might not need it. There's different versions of the test, but you have to give yourself every chance to pass. To get into how I actually studied, like the flow of things, is I broke it up into multiple phases. Phase 1, content sweep. So I'm gonna go through and read each unit through both the physical book that I ordered and as well as the study guide and any additional resource that the professor provided. It's important with this because you're going to want to use that. Like, the book isn't enough to pass the class, so go through and find the additional study guide and practice questions and just skim it. You know, don't try to hurt your brain too much. Just take in the knowledge and get familiar with the content. Just handwrite your notes, let it flow a little bit so you can build that muscle memory and get a baseline understanding of what you're learning. When I did get confused, just don't stop. Don't beat yourself up and get stuck in one place. Keep up the momentum, keep it pushing, and move to the next chapter and then circle back later. Phase 2, like I said earlier, you're going to want to use the study guide right away. This is where it clicks and comes all together. A little like insight on how my studying for this class went is I went through the study guide 4, 5, 6 times and it wasn't making sense, so I had to book time with the course instructor and we basically went through each question and she explained the mechanics of everything. I just kept going at it over and over until I mastered it. That's really what you're gonna have to do. It's a grind. And then after I went through that, you know, I would use the study guide or the practice exam to test myself, and any gaps in my knowledge, I would just keep doing it again. I would just refine it. I'd take it down. I'd take the notes down on what questions I missed. I would go to the instructor and she would give me a different study guide and I would start drilling that as well. You just want to keep getting the reps in and keep going at it again and again, because this is tough. You just want to identify those weak spots and keep going. For the last part is, I just kept drilling myself. When I did miss those parts or those gaps in my understanding, I made sure to not forget what I learned previously. So I went through every session, I think I mentioned this in a previous video, but I went through every session and I just started from chapter 1 and still checked like, hey, am I doing good? Does this keep working for me? And I would just keep going through and keeping that top of mind, so it's not like I blank out when the test comes. 4D test day. This one took me 2 or 3 times. I think I passed on the 3rd time, but no, this one took me 2 times. But on the day of the test, I went through and I brain dumped all the ratios I knew. Then I also wrote out the journal entry skeletons, which basically means I wrote through what happens when there's an impairment, what happens when there is a treasury loss. I wrote the journal entries for everything without putting the numbers. You can just put little X's or hash marks, but basically I had the journal entry there. So if I see it on the test and I remember the question on the PA, I can guess the right answer for the OA, or I can solve it. And before, I made sure to slow everything down and just breathe, relax, because you don't want to be going into this with jitters. And if you feel like you're not 100%, you'll do yourself a service if you just back out and reschedule, because honestly, I frustrated myself with so many classes where I thought I could pass and wing it and brute force it, but it just didn't come through. If you're not feeling good about it, just reschedule it, no harm done, come back to it when you feel better. For the actual exam, you're just gonna have to stay calm and do what you learned. You know, you went through, by the time you drilled everything multiple times, you identified weak spots, you have your brain dump, you have the journal entry skeletons, and you reviewed a bunch of times and met with your professor, you're gonna do well. Like, you're just going to have to go through and work it through line by line. You know, if it doesn't make sense, just skip it. Like I said earlier, don't let resistance build up, just skip it. Bookmark it, come back to it at the end, because you never know if a question later in the test might actually help you in a question earlier. All I gotta say is you do not beat the second OA by just hoping you'll pass. You beat it by training your patterns and just getting the repetition in. You have to make sure that the equations make sense, that the journal entries balance, that the depreciation schedule tells a story. Does it make sense? If it's a double declining balance, make sure you're not using straight line balance. Make sure your accounting logic just stays consistent. Don't be changing things. Don't be thinking about IFRS when you're supposed to be doing GAAP accounting. You don't need luck, you just need structure. After watching this video, you most definitely have it. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope it helped out and giving you a little bit of insight on how to pass the second OA for Intermediate Accounting 2. If you have any other questions or topics you want me to make a video on, just let me know and I will be more than glad to make one. Thank you so much for watching, Night Owls. I will catch you on the next one.